guys ever seen that clip? I think it's on the Shining Blu-ray, or no, it's on the Eyes Wide Shut Blu-ray. It's the bonus clips, the interviews. It's an interview with Spielberg talking about how when he saw The Shining, Stanley Kubrick wanted to know what he thought, and he kept jumping to, well, I like this and I like that, and Stanley, of course, saw right through it and like, I'm getting the picture you didn't like my movie. Well, why not? And they got around to talking about how Spielberg thought that Nicholson had gone over the top, and Stanley asked Spielberg, "Don't think about it. Just tell me your 5 favorite actors." And Spielberg says, Cary Grant, Jimmy Stewart, etc. And then Kubrick goes, "I noticed you didn't say James Cagney anywhere on that list." And Spielberg said, "Well, he's definitely up there." And then Kubrick said, "He's my favorite actor." And that's why that's a great performance.
There it is.
Nicholson.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And I totally get it.
Okay.
Yeah, right?
Well, this was a departure. This was 1949. This is the psychological dramas are coming in. Let's make the main character psychotic. I don't think it's been done in noir quite like that before with the main character. And it is pretty compelling.
I love it when he has his fits. That's like one of the best parts of the movie.
I know.
The movie's it ramps up, like he's almost sort of normal, and then with the time you get to the last act, it's like completely unhinged, referring to himself in the third person. Who else does that?
Yeah.
Like just raging and glowering, and like when the guy shows up, he says the word copper 15 times.
Yes.
A copper.
Well, obviously,
a copper took me in, and I bought it.
Well, I think he gauged his character is that when his mom died, he just we went around the corner at that point.
Snapped.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was
ruined everybody's lunch.
Absolutely. Although weirdly enough, there were some moments near the end where I thought were fairly cute, like when he
punched out like 8 guards.
Oh, he did.
Like one.
Well, the end where what's holding him up was that's a telling line.
It's like the scene in Deadpool 2 or Fast and Furious 7 where they're just like beating the shit out of all of the guards in the prison. It's just like, oh, James Cagney started this because he just flips out, falls down on everyone's food as he's like just fishing his way off of the table, and then just starts clocking motherfuckers.
I know it's amazing, and he ends up in a straitjacket, which is like, all right, there it is.
Yeah.
Straitjacket
refusing.
refusing.
A great character. I was really sorry when she left the movie.
Try yelling.
It's adding crosstalk.
Now we can't hear you at all.
Oh, Tad, thank you. The best characters in the entire movie are the map guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I love the map. I love the map guys.
Map guys were never not hilarious, especially when they kept cutting back to them so that they could go and like, here's where they are now.
Yeah,
they're just naming.
Well, I was going to say
streets. They're just naming streets that are in Tupac songs. Yeah.
All real addresses, Slauson and Victory. It's
dedicated to the map guys.
Well, that's what I was going to say. This movie focuses so much on like sort of how cops operate.
It's very procedural.
Like one of those,
that's
procedural.
Exactly right, John. The other half of this movie is this is a procedural film. In fact, it happens twice. They do it again when they're putting the tag on the bumper, and actually the chase near the end where
when they're getting ready to plant the guy inside the prison, and they go through the file. Who in this prison?
And
do
they've
you
all
know,
got landlines in their cars.
Yeah,
and like
it was all interesting because it was like there's that the methodical police thing, and then on his side he's this crazy person running a gang.
Yeah. Try it again, Jim. What do we got now?
Okay, so the actress is only 11 years older than James Cagney.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, there it is.
That's one of those standard. We're gonna cast an older woman because she's like 41. Like it's like
Gloria Swanson in what you call it,
Sunset Boulevard. Yeah,
but this lady looks scary and old, dude.
She looks scary. I'll give you. She was scary. She was great.
She's more of a criminal than he is.
Oh yeah,
she looks like a witch. Like she looks like one of the Wicked Witch of something out of Wizard of Oz.
These eyes,
the house.
She had these weird penetrating stares she'd use all the time. It was really off-putting.
She really didn't like Virginia Maya.
No, didn't like nothing like her at all.
I mean, why would you? Like she's a very unlikable character.
She's horrible, and I love how even though she betrays him, he kind of just takes her back. He's just like, yeah, okay, well.
Like I said, there's a moment at the end where
She gets her comeuppance at the end.
At
though,
the very
because-
end, yeah.
She does, but I
like,
still thought
I'll talk him out, and they're like, "Fuck you, go to
get out."
prison."
Go directly to jail.
even though Cagney,
Pasco, exactly.
like even though Cagney was slowly going insane, he was smart. Like he's a
Oh yeah, he
smart
was
dude.
cunning. He was cunning.
And I thought, I still thought, oh, he's got something up his sleeve for her, right? Like, but nope.
But nope.
Not so much.
No, you could. There's a modern version of this movie that doesn't have to worry about like code and stuff like that, where he gets away with it. You know, like he's smart enough that like he actually has a secondary backup plan, and it's like, oh, he actually does just shoot the cop and then walk out of there with the money.
Well,
you know,
it kind of, okay, probably the Silence of the Lambs.
But then you don't have Top of the World, ma.
The guy's
Sure.
loose at the end of the Silence of the Lambs in Bahamas, and he's as crazy as he ever was. He just got away with it.
Yeah.
I thought about a lot.
That's the ending of Silence.
I thought a lot about Heat watching this movie.
Oh, interesting.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, it's like Los Angeles, lots of driving around from one end of town to the other.
Both the cops and the criminal are smart.
Yeah,
right.
Kind of a matching wits too.
You always have some fuck up who makes it worse.
Yes.
Like,
And I was kind of enthralled with the caper once they realized what they were going to do, and they were all climbing into that gasoline truck and driving down the road. I was like, damn, this is pretty goddamn cool.
I know.
I really like the line where he's like, "How's it going in there? We can't breathe real well. Don't breathe.
Don't breathe.
Don't breathe." Which is better than his alternative, making holes for him to breathe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cold blooded.
There's some good lines in this like that.
Then he gets in there with him. Like,
and that line, baby, you look good in the shower curtain. Like there's some good lines in this. That are like,
their relationship wasn't entirely unhealthy. I thought there was a cute moment at the end where she's giving her a piggyback ride through the cabin.
Yeah,
that's a great scene. Grab the brass ring, honey.
Exactly. That was really
grabs the booze.
There was some warmth. Yeah, there was some warmth between them. It was kind of off-putting because he's so
well,
nuts.
and she'll betray anybody for herself. I mean,
I know.
you know,
Yeah.
I know, but nonetheless, these guys kind of work together, which is interesting.
Yeah,
I can see why it's a classic. I mean, it just hangs together so well. You know, the story is very compelling.
I was surprised too. It's just shy of 2 hours long, which is kind of unusual.
Kind of longish for
that is pretty long, huh?
Yeah.
You could have cut the entirety of the map guys and maybe got all that time back.
No,
that's not
you
the first
cannot
time
cut the map guys. No, you cannot.
but that is some of the procedural stuff is the only place where it drags, though. Some of the procedural stuff makes it drag a bit.
It's a bit plotting because
is the middle of nowhere. It's next to a waste treatment.
Yeah, sure. Well, mind you, it's like back then. It was like, oh wow, they're using radio and radar, and it's like
the guy doing the
thing on the top.
Yeah, with the thing on the roof.
Yeah, exactly. But that's like
really focused on the tech.
But that was cutting edge back then, so it's like
this was.
I love the walkie-talkie that the cops were using.
Oh, I know. It was like it's like 2 feet long.
Excuse me, that's a handy talkie. Walkie-talkies are a backpack. That's
true.
handy talkie.
There's a bit. I was pulling stills for this thing, and at the very end of the film, where Edmund O'Brien, who I just absolutely love as an actor, they had the sniper scope and is going after him. Someone's holding a bullhorn next to him, and the bullhorn says Warner Brothers Electrical Department. Oops.
You gotta find that for the show. Edit that in.
It will be in there. Don't worry.
Chris, I love your frame grab, by the way. That's
so busy, but looking like, wait a minute, these are all filled with flammable natural gas, and these guys got guns. And
I know.
At the end, they only managed to blow up 1 or 2 of them.
I think
they all 3 went up.
There it
You
is.
get all of the explosions, and then
And it wasn't them.
as
It
they're
was Cagney shoots it.
Right.
Yeah, Cagney's the one that
Now,
does
after
it.
a while,
Goes off
after
the
the first one
valve.
goes off, he starts shooting them all. It's like it's
and then at the end they're spraying the water. You see the hoses come in and they're spraying it, and then another one blows up in the background. It's just like, oh yeah, they
bedlam.
fucked up this refinery. Like this is going to raise prices on heating in Los Angeles.
Yeah, that's probably where most of their natural gas comes
This
from.
was
It's gonna screw
definitely
everything
one
up.
of the best old timey movies that's been picked on this show. I mean, it's it moves really fast.
Mhm.
The line. I mean, granted, this is 1949, so I think it's like maybe old timey ish, not full old timey. But I mean, and Cagney, yeah, he's got this thing, and he was clearly just like leaning into it hard because his return to this kind of movie after being away from them for a while.
Yeah.
That's the thing about
because he'd done the biopics and stuff.
Yeah, he
Right.
played out the gangster thing in the 30s, and he came back with this in noir when it first started going up, and it just
That was
Yeah.
a good one that's been
Yeah.
on my list would be Mr. Roberts, where
Oh, yeah, that was good.
one of his last films.
That's
and I
Lemon.
think whether
Yeah.
you like Cagney or not, he has a style to his acting, and his commitment is so it's so great that you can't not believe him. So
Right.
it's just like, even if he's saying some lines that aren't quite, or playing these parts that you're like, oh my gosh, this is a little, what we would call cliche now at this point, he's so committed, like you said, Chris, to what he's doing,
Yeah.
that he just wins you over, and I believe it like hook, line, and sinker almost all the
I do
time.
have one
Cliche,
question.
it's a cliche because he made it a cliche.
Right,
he
right,
is the
right.
person who the cliche is.
Cliche starts
originated
somewhere,
it.
and he's the guy who started the cliche.
Right.
Mike, I'm gonna go to refer to that scene behind Chris where they get the picture, and then
Oh,
Edmund O'Brien comes back into the cell, and I wish I could write something that clever, because
it's
amazing.
It takes him a couple of minutes, like a couple of beats to notice it. Even.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
I leave her alone for 1 week and she changes her hair color.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
God, that what a save, man.
She better be a blonde when I get back.
Mhm.
I really liked the it was mentioned earlier, but when he's putting the transmitter on the bottom of the truck and Cagney comes over and he's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like,
Yeah, and
"Well,
he
you got to
says-
have a chain
Yeah.
hanging down to dissipate the static electricity."
Mhm.
And they're like, "Well, we're not." He's like, "We're not hauling any gas." And he's like, "What? You want to be stopped by some random traffic cop?"
Yeah.
Because we're and explain we're not hauling gas, we're hauling people. And Cagney's just like, "All right,
All right.
Good job.
Yeah.
good job.
It's in your head.
Good job, kid.
Yeah, that was interesting. It also reminded me that there's probably a 6-volt system in that thing, which
Well, there's a lot of cool shit like that. Like when in the beginning, when the steam lets loose, the guy falls on the lever and the guy gets it in the face. There's lots of practical things that are real in this that make sense.
Yeah.
And then that guy is fucked up.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he probably has
Yeah,
an
it's-
infection. He died.
It's not like some movie where he's like, oh, just I can live. My face is, just a little bit.
his hands
Yeah.
are fucked
Be
up.
like
His
tossed.
face
His
is
face.
fucked up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Although I would like if they made this film later on, because one of the things about at the end when they're shooting at Cagney on the thing, he'll just go, "Ooh," he'll come over and he'll get back up again. Ooh, and they're like, "What's keeping him up?" But if it was a newer film, you'd see like the blood everywhere. And big chunks.
There's so many
Yeah.
people getting
Yeah.
murdered in this movie. I mean,
Oh,
like,
the cop, the cops,
the
the
body-
cops really love shooting
body
people in the
count is
back.
Yeah, the
crazy.
body count is
Yeah.
incredible in this film.
like,
This I
nuts.
almost feel like this wouldn't have passed code just from how many people the cops shoot directly in the back
Yeah.
in
Back.
this movie.
Yeah.
And how many
'Cause-
innocent people just
And
get
everyone
nailed?
does that. Everyone does the, and then they fall.
I know.
They have to pause,
Yeah, they
they
fall, and they put-
death scene.
and then they
And
fall.
no one before they invented squibs, it's just too bad, really. Like you want to see coming. Well, we're all used to that.
But
now.
honestly,
You couldn't
this probably
put
looks more
explosives on
real.
somebody in 1949.
No, 'cause you probably
if
kill
you
'em.
did, they would have died.
Yes,
That's-
exactly. But no, didn't they just wipe out the guys on the train? They were like just were innocent bystanders. I mean,
Yeah,
that thing
and-
was actually kind of against the
Oh,
code.
they
back
killed
then.
a couple of conductors and the
Yeah,
engineer
yeah.
of
There were
the
2
plane.
engineers
Yeah.
died.
Uh-huh.
Off
that's
camera
kind of
mostly,
pushing
but
it.
yeah.
That's pushing it,
Prison
man.
guys,
Mhm,
prison guys died.
mhm.
Yeah, it was
Well, I mean,
brutal.
that heist drives so much in this movie. It had to be heinous,
Yeah, and it was.
so that he could confess to another crime.
Yeah.
Which
Right.
Get
Again,
out of
he's
it.
a
Get a
smart. The
couple of
character is
years.
smart.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like that's good. That's good, smart characterization of like I already have this thing in my head of like if this goes sideways, I can go confess to this other crime that we did in Illinois, and then obviously I wasn't the guy who robbed the train
Right.
because
Yeah.
I'm confessing to a crime in Illinois, and
Yeah.
it's like I don't think that's how time works, but okay, man. Like,
Well, he
Go
had
ahead.
like didn't he had like somewhat of an alibi, I think, along with that on the
Yeah.
tail end of that other crime or
I
something,
think so. Yeah.
where
Well,
they put
also
him in a
back then-
different state or something.
A different police station, but police departments probably
Yeah.
communicated by like telegraph back then. So who knew, right? They didn't share information like
well, that's the
you do now.
whole. You get to the border, the county border, and nobody will follow you because like they don't have direct communication,
Right. Yeah.
Because you have to get permission from the other jurisdiction to pursue somebody.
Mhm.
Right.
Like that's still true. It's just you do it via cellular technology, and you're like, we're about to go into Miami-Dade, and they go, okay, like
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Well,
know what else
there
I
it is.
enjoyed? The height of Cagney's pants.
Well,
oh God, yeah.
Motherfucker, like,
It's like-
we're talking like Ed Grimley level belt.
Yeah, yeah. They're like his belt is under his nipples.
Uh-huh.
You could also
Right under his nipples.
he's also real short. Like that's
He
another,
is very short.
I figured.
That's a weird way. That's a strange way to compensate for it.
Yeah, they don't
No,
make
you
look taller.
They only had pants that long. That's
Yeah.
if you were 6.5 feet tall, your pants came down to your mid calf, and if
Right,
you were
exactly.
5'2", they came up to your neck. Like,
That's right.
You got it.
He's
I think I
just-
saw it in a lot of 40s films. Exactly.
One size fits all.
So I thought the directing was actually pretty good, but I looked this guy up and it didn't look like, I mean, like, I don't know that.
Raoul Walsh.
Raoul Walsh.
Yeah, like what else did he do that was this good?
You know, he came out of the silence, right? He was did that. You know, he was doing stuff in the 20s.
Jim, do you know?
No, I'm stumped too. I know the name is actually rather famous, but
Yeah, I know the name.
But he's kind of like, I guess he's a journeyman. He's like when the studios
Yeah.
hired to direct things.
Yeah,
back then.
this was
He did the Roaring Twenties, the original. The
Yeah, so
Which is a decent flick.
Oh, he did High Sierra
oh, I love High Sierra.
uh-huh.
and Captain Horatio Hornblower. So, like, yeah, he's
knew what he was doing.
Competent.
Yeah, he was a director for hire, and
High Sierra is great. If
He
you
knew
guys
where to
haven't seen
point the
that.
camera at all times.
High Sierra is good.
But a film like this definitely probably made his reputation because there's a lot of touches and flourishes in this thing that
Yeah.
only a director could think out. And it's like they put the time. You can tell they put the time in this film to
Yeah.
make it kind of not just a film noir, but something a notch above it. Something.
well, they got the budget too.
also,
Like,
yeah, they did pretty good too. They had some,
Yeah.
had some serious money on this thing
Yeah,
too.
they
just
did.
Imagine-
having this many inserts must have cost a lot of money. You
Yeah.
know, just think about what it takes to move one of those cameras and focus it down on a piece of paper
Yeah.
for long enough to get a drawing.
I was
or-
thinking about that too. And like a lot of the exteriors, like dragging the camera all around Los Angeles from one to the other, like all that stuff at the end I mean, it's just the first.
And there's tons of chase shots in this
shootout.
too.
Oh, yeah.
Like actual.
Yeah, there's
And they
a
had to
lot
hire
of
a
there
train
goes
at
the
some
guard,
point.
you know.
Like, no, sir. Now, like, is this the first shootout in a factory movie at the end? Like think about it.
Maybe.
I imagine it's got to be the first kind of let's focus on procedural, like we were saying too. Like it's
Yeah.
got to be one an early leading on those.
Well, like I said, that the connection to heat is. I didn't think about that when I picked it, but you're absolutely
I
right.
kept coming back. I thought that was pretty.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's a good point, Chris, because so many crime movies end up in a warehouse or a factory or something like that.
Well, you don't have
Like
to build a
every
set.
one.
It looks cool, right?
It looks cool, right?
Yeah,
Well,
you,
it's
you
the
you
first-
have to
most
dress it.
science
you-
fiction things get shot
You
in.
just
Yeah,
put a
right.
couple
Yeah.
of lights on those pipes and it looks great. Done.
Mind you, the only
You
thing I
need
can
a
think of,
box or two that people can hide behind.
Mhm.
Yeah.
the only thing I think of that's similar is the movie the M.
brings up your production value.
Is that ended up in like a big office space?
No, they're like in a
Been on my
basement.
short list for a while.
think.
I was
Yeah.
like,
Aren't they in like a?
I think it's the basement of the bank that.
Yeah, it's like a basement because all
No,
the
it's-
village
well, it's-
people are there.
Well, there's offices above. It's one of those big block structures they built in the 20s.
I was going to say, if anyone did this first, it's the Germans. Like,
Yeah.
that's because, again, so much of Germany was just industrial spaces at this
Yeah,
point in
right.
time. Like, you could just,
this is
yeah, we're going to shoot over there in that warehouse.
also this is not pretty LA. This is nasty bungalow.
like they never
They,
really
they
go
did
down.
have the city hall though. That
Well,
yeah,
yeah,
you have
yeah,
to.
yeah,
You
yeah.
have to. It's a
I love
law.
that.
This is
Like,
very
it's-
like Chinatown, LA.
Yeah, like
actually.
you're
Yeah.
avoiding Hollywood Boulevard, you're avoiding downtown, except in the distance.
Uh-huh.
Right.
All the
Mhm.
and again, kind of like a lot of heat, which takes
Yeah.
place in the periphery, with the exception of the shootout in the financial district.
Well, it's a
Right.
nostalgic view of the whole thing with the city hall, the big tower there, and there's no smog whatsoever. You know, and nice clean shots everywhere.
Yeah, well, it's also rear projection, so you can do whatever you want.
exactly,
Like,
exactly.
The
Well-
leaded diesel was still a thing at this point in time. So the smog was like the here,
Right.
like
Oh, Christ,
on.
you guys.
Yeah, true.
Growing up in 1978, the number of times I get sent home because of a third stage smog alert, it was like every other day.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
I remember going visiting in LA in the 70s, early 70s, and the sky was just manila colored all the time. It looked like a manila envelope. It wasn't even red, it wasn't even blue.
You couldn't see the hills behind my house most of the
Yeah.
time.
It was, well, anyway, so
Good pick. I'd never seen it. I actually
yeah, do
enjoyed
you have anything to add, Jim, or you think you're cornered up already? All right. Well, let's just go to the cards.
You know,
All right, thank you. Well, I realize you guys appreciate it so much. I really am very pleased.
I appreciate that you took my Cagney sucks and like no. There's
Oh
a
yeah,
difference.
We did all. I mean, I
he
think
doesn't.
everyone.
He doesn't suck now. Yeah, no,
right when you said that, I
Yeah,
said
see?
white heat.
Right.
think
Everyone
we said
else
at the same
was
time,
just
it's
like,
like
no,
White
man,
Heat.
you got to watch White Heat. Like,